As I write about in Promethean Pirate, there was this period for about a year and a half or so where I started to develop what I suppose you could call clairaudience around the age of maybe 9, 10, something like that. We had a rather sizable living room between my room and my parents' room. And I was able to, at one point, make out conversations in a normal tone or even a hushed tone of voice across the distance of the living room. I talk about the kind of tense situation in my household in Promethean Pirate. So I was kind of like focusing in on the situation between my mother and my father on the other side of the house, laying in bed, pressing my ear to the wall, as it were, to hear across the living room. And I got confirmation a few times that basically I had been able to discern the nature of their conversation at that distance, which is clearly not, technically audible. This ability became somewhat of a nuisance, as I describe in the book, because even in crowded restaurants in that period, when my attention would drift amongst the tables of other people at a restaurant, I became acutely aware of their conversations, which was annoying. It was aggravating, So yeah, I suppose you'd call that clairaudience. And then there was this one night where my attention was so focused on hearing, what was across the house, again, with my head pressed against the wall next to my bed, that I just rolled through the wall. And like I said in the book, it felt cold. My body felt freezing cold for a moment, rolling through this wall. And I rolled right onto the carpet in the living room on the other side of that wall. And then this rather interesting, experience unfolded with a kind of spectral hound in the living room. So I suppose that was what, occultists have called my astral body or whatever. And that this was a kind of astral projection at very short distance from my bed into the living room.
What would you say was felt as far as going through the wall, if anything, in terms of the texture of the wall? Were you able to feel like the interior?
No, quick, like, just like roll. I mean, the thickness of that kind of wall in a Manhattan apartment, it's not much of anything. So it was just a moment, as if you would fall out of your bed onto the floor, except that there was this wall between my bed and the floor, the carpeted floor in the living room. It just felt cold for a moment going through it.
And I do recall you were also writing about in your book Closer Encounters, unless I'm mistaken, that the sense of feeling cold was also exhibited by people who were in various supernatural phenomena.
I'm not recalling exactly what part you're talking about of Closer Encounters. I do know that when I'm discussing the case of Linda Cortile, November 30th, 1989, mass abduction in New York City, which I touch on again in Promethean Pirate from my own personal perspective, there are accounts that people, including Linda Cortile herself, who's the woman at the center of that case, people have been basically levitated straight through closed windows into flying saucers. And so some researchers have asked, is it really the physical body that's being taken in these instances, or are these entities able to separate the astral body from the physical body, and is that what's being abducted? There are all kinds of questions about that,